Hello everyone, welcome back to Economics by Anushka. In the previous video, we learned about what is economics. It was an introduction to economics as well as I introduced opportunity cost to you. Now in the next video, I promise that we would study about the school of economic thoughts. So let's begin with that. For the context, economics is not a single subject that came from a single person and a single source. Economics is a mix-up. Economics came from very different people who came from very different countries and had given their thoughts, given their definitions about economics. We will delve into the definitions in the next video, but today we will study about the school of economic thoughts. Yeah, first school of economic thought is classical school of economic thought. I have written on the board itself. So the classical school of economic thought, the first person whose name arises in our mind when we mention classical school of economic thought is Adam Smith. You must have, if you are not an economics student, you should know who was Adam Smith. Adam Smith was the one who first propounded the idea of economics. He is known as he is known as father of economics. So in the year 1776, what he did was he published a book. He published a book which was named He published a book in the year 1776, An Inquiry into the Nature and Causes of Wealth of Nations. And from this book itself, the journey of economics started. So he was a firm believer, and when we are studying about the classical school of economics, so we would come around the gist of what he proposed and what he was a supporter of. He was a supporter that markets should be free. He said that markets should be free, and free of what? Free of market should be free of government interpretations. And when we say market should be free, we don't say that prices, there should be no prices for commodities whatsoever. The free refers to the state where demand and supply, forces of both demand and supply, are free to play in the market, are free to play in the market. And what would these 2 points will be delivering? That market should be free and government intervention should be less. This total scenario would lead to economic stability. He thought that this scenario, the market should be free, demand and supply should play their forces in the market, they are free to play their forces in the market, and government should intervene less and less in the markets of our economy, in the markets of a country. And this is the state when the economic stability will be established. But this is not the case. We will study more about it when we delve into the neoclassical school of economic thought. So let's move to that. So the next school of thought that we would study in economics is the neoclassical economic thought. So the neoclassical economic thought was the one where the major economist in that was Alfred Marshall. Alfred Marshall was the one who propounded the modern economic analysis. He has been credited with modern economic analysis. So yeah, we are keeping the pace slow of this because I believe that many people who are needing an introduction to economics have not a background of economics. So the pace is slow, and one by one we will cover all the topics. Uh, Please bear with me. I will do all the explanation of all the economics. And so, yeah, let's go back to that. Neoclassical economic thought, Alfred Marshall was the major propounder of this, and he was the one who believed that he said that people are rational. So the word rational came. People are rational. People know what are the things that people try to satisfy. People try to maximize. What? People try to maximize their satisfaction and profit. He was the firm believer that people are rational and people know how to make decisions. People are the decision makers here, and people know how to maximize their satisfaction and profit. So he said that that the prices, production, and income are decided by demand and supply in the economy. What he said that prices, production, and income are decided by demand and supply in the economy. The other major economists who belong to the neoclassical economic thought were Jevons and Walras. Let's move on to the Keynesian school of economic thought. So the Keynesian school of economic thoughts was propounded by he was the major propounder of economics thought of Keynesian way. So what did John Maynard Keynes said? John Maynard Keynes is a big name in economics. So what did he say? That markets do not correct themselves. He said that market do not correct themselves. मतलब कि डिमांड और सप्लाई की फोर्सेस ऐसा नहीं है कि हर बार हम जब उनको फ्री प्ले करने दें मार्केट में तब अपने आप को मार्केट करेक्ट कर ले. No, markets do not correct themselves and government needs to intervene. Government needs to intervene. How is the government intervening? Government is intervening through spending and policies. गवर्नमेंट कैसे इंटरवीन करती है मार्केट में? गवर्नमेंट इंटरवीन करती है थ्रू स्पेंडिंग and through making policies. So he said that markets do not correct themselves and government needs to intervene because in the period of recession, जब recession आता है, the periods of recession, unemployment, जब रिसेशन रहता है तो अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट कैन रिमेन फॉर अ लॉन्ग टाइम. लॉन्ग पीरियड ऑफ टाइम के लिए रिसेशन रहता है तो अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट भी बढ़ सकती है. इसलिए जॉन मेनार्ड कीन्स ने कहा कि गवर्नमेंट को इंटरवीन करना पड़ता है इकोनॉमिक स्टेबिलिटी के लिए. फॉर इकोनॉमिक स्टेबिलिटी गवर्नमेंट नीड्स टू इंटरवीन. He was the major player in macroeconomics, and we will cover microeconomics and shift towards macroeconomics. So the first thing that we would learn in macroeconomics is aggregate demand and aggregate supply, and that is his idea. He has propounded aggregate demand and aggregate supply. He has given all the theories in macroeconomics. So yeah, let's move to the monetarist economics. So we come to the monetarist school of economics. The monetarist school of economics is a rather interesting one because it comes very close to the modern economics and to the thinking of modern people and thinking that belong to the people of 1900s and 2000s. So yeah, let's begin with that. Monetarist school of economics, they believe that money supply is the key factor. Money supply is the key factor in controlling our economy's stability. They said that money supply should be the key factor in controlling our country's economic stability. And too much printing of money, they said that money supply is the key factor of economic stability in the economy, and too much printing of money causes inflation. So the word inflation came into light here. Too much printing of money leads to inflation, and they were supporters of government intervention. Supporters of government intervention. They said that the government should intervene in an economy, in a country's economy, and should have a stable monetary policy so that too much money is not printed and economy runs smoother. The major economist in monetary school of economics is the major the major economist in monetary school of economics is मिल्टन फ्रीडमैन. मिल्टन फ्रीडमैन को मॉनेटिस्ट इकोनॉमिक्स स्कूल को क्रेडिट किया जाता है कि इन्होंने ही प्रपाउंड किया. सो लेट्स मूव ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट स्कूल ऑफ इकोनॉमिक थॉट. So the next school of economic thought is Marxian school of economic thought. The people who study political science are very familiar with the word Marx, Karl Marx. They are very familiar with the word and with the name Karl Marx. So Karl Marx was the one that observed कि इकोनॉमी में जो उनकी इकोनॉमी थी उसमें inequality बहुत ज़्यादा थी and people who were rich were getting richer and the poor were getting poorer. So what he said that the upper class, or what he called them as capitalists, the capitalists were exploiting workers. The capitalists were exploiting workers, and what he observed was that there was a huge inequality, and he said that this needs to stop, and he was a firm supporter of ownership of resources. He said that resources should both be owned by the workers and the capitalists, and this class division should no longer exist. Each one has to earn their food, and this inequality should stop. So the next school of economic thought that we would study today is Austrian school of economic thought. The Austrians believe that freedom, stability, and rationality is present in every human. People want to be able to make their decisions based on their rationality, and people want stability, and people want freedom. And they were opposers of government intervention. They said government should intervene less in the market, in the business of a common man, and let them do their work, let them earn their food, and do not intervene in the market. So the next school of thought which we will study is behavioral school of economic thought. So the behavioral school of economic thought basically says that people are not always rational. People are not always rational, and emotions, habits, taste come in their way of deciding what they want and what they don't want. And these behavioral is more of a real life, and drawn towards the real situation of people, and they think that the rationality is somewhat compromised when there are emotions, habits, or tastes involved. This school of economic thought basically deals with more of a psychological aspect of a individual. Psychological aspect of an individual means that his preferences are getting in the way of maximizing his satisfaction and profits. So yeah, behavioral school of economic thought was this one, and the major economist in behavioral economics was Hayek. So yeah, let's end our video here only. These were the major school of economic thoughts. There are more like feminist school of economic thought that are towards the women and else. So let's end this, and in the next video I will give out and explain what are the different definitions of economics and of economics given by major economists, and we would get into the first concept of economics, that is demand and law of demand and the exceptions to law of demand and everything about demand. Thank you. Bye bye. Take care. Like, share, and subscribe.